y'all look amazing. Let me just start with that. This has been a long week. It's been a long campaign, but this week has been a long week. On Friday, there was an advertisement that was put out there that said that I didn't care about my community. It said that I'd stolen opportunity from the people who look like me because I don't care. And we've responded, we put out the information, but what ate at my core was not the message, but the subtext. See, there are a lot of us who have been raised to think that we take care of our own, but what we forget is who our own are. And when I served in the job of minority leader, the Democratic leader in the House, I didn't have the luxury of only helping people who had my life experience. Because I know college isn't a guarantee of anything. My parents both went to college and we were still working poor for most of my life. I knew that we had to think not just about those who wanted to go to college, we had to remember those families that were losing their jobs in the middle of the Great Recession trying to go back to technical college, and who didn't remember high school algebra, who needed some remedial courses so they could get ready. And part of my job was to make sure they got some money for what you needed. I remember at that time, even though I don't have children, that there were 4-year-olds who were about to get kicked out of a full day of pre-K, and their parents told to come pick them up in the middle of the day every day of the week. And even though that wasn't my personal experience, I knew enough to know that they needed help too. And so I did what I was supposed to do, which is I talked to the people who have the ability to get it done. I fought with them until we did, and because of my work, 500,000 of Georgia's 4-year-olds have gone to pre-K since 2011. And because of what I did, 100,000 students got the Hope Scholarship this year, including 100% of African American students having access to the Hope Scholarship. And on top of that, we made certain that the remedial courses you needed, because you can't get in the door if you can't find the key, that those students got the money they needed to get started. And just in case that wasn't enough, I asked my opponent in the race, who was a young attorney and a young state legislator, to co-sponsor legislation with me to make sure they got their money in full. That's the story. But it's easier to believe the headlines. And those headlines are telling us we can't win this race. Those headlines are telling us that the voices that I'm reaching out to aren't the ones I should be talking to. That my sight should be set on folks who don't share my values, but vote for the other side. And here's the thing, I welcome every Republican vote I can get, but I want the vote of the people who need us to stand together. I'm running because I understand where we begin should not dictate where we end up, but that every step along the way we need to be walking in solidarity, walking together, marching towards a better future for all of our families. And that is why I'm going to be the next governor of the great state of Georgia. My friend Alicia Garza talks about the importance of black women's votes, of brown women's votes, of women's voices being lifted up, and she says that because that's what history tells us. But in Georgia, we've forgotten our own story. We've forgotten that we haven't gotten to this place because of one community. We are who we are because we've always knitted together communities from across demographics, from across regions, because we know we have a shared destiny if we stand together. And my friend Aijin Hu, she has been the voice of domestic workers because she knows that the people who are at the bottom will lift all of us up. And that those folks who are paid the least are expected to do the most. And that their voices should be the loudest heard on every issue. And that is why I am proud to stand here today with Care in Action and accept your endorsement. You see, elections are about choices. I'm the second of 6 children. I didn't finish the sentence until I was 14. And even then it was color. See, the thing of it is, elections are about choices. It's about deciding the direction that we want to go in. And I am proud to be the clear choice of this community, because not of what I'm promising to do, but because of the record of what I've done. Because when others were engaged in predatory lending and stealing housing and defending those who had done so in the Great Recession, I was fighting for small businesses and fighting for a minimum wage and fighting to lift our families up. And when others would say that you can't talk to the other side because they don't agree with us on everything, my answer is that they can agree with me on enough stuff that we can get something done. I'm happy to talk to anybody, because that's what leadership does. It is not leadership to take a symbolic position and hope that no one notices nothing gets done. Leadership is about making tough decisions, making hard choices, and then taking responsibility for the choices that you make. See, I don't disagree with people making mistakes. I disagree with people refusing to admit they've made a mistake. And I don't disparage anyone's bad actions if they acknowledge it and try to do better. But I also get a little annoyed when I hear that people believe that the only decisions you can make are the ones that benefit folks like you. Because leadership isn't about saving yourself. Leadership is about saving others and helping them save themselves. That is what I'm running to do for the whole state of Georgia. And I'm excited about what we have ahead of us. I'm excited that I'm the only candidate who has put out detailed and bold plans for a child care tax credit so that no family raising a child goes into debt putting a 4-year-old or a 3-year-old in daycare.
Yes.
You should be paying the college tuition for a 2-year-old. And so under my plan, if you are a family that makes $40,000 and you've got a toddler, you will get a check for $5,700 to pay a scholarship for your child to go to daycare. That is why I'm running for the president. And I'm also the only candidate who said that economic mobility belongs to all of us, not just those of us who win the lottery, or those of us either the life lottery or the actual lottery. Because the reality is all of us deserve an opportunity, and that's why I'm the only candidate who's proposed a detailed economic mobility plan that says that wage theft is wrong, that misclassification is wrong, and it says until we can raise our minimum wage, we're going to do an earned income tax credit, put money in your pockets today. That is what leadership looks like, and that is why I'm going to do the government of Georgia. But I'm also running because I know we have to decriminalize being poor in the state of Georgia. I'm running because I know that we have too many family members who are trying to come back from making mistakes and they're being told it's too late, you're a day late and $1 short. And I'm the only candidate who has a detailed plan to allow for prisoners to re-enter our communities, not only with rehabilitation, but with transition and re-entry and with productivity on the outside. I'm the only one saying that we have to end cash money bail and that we have to criminalize and that we have to make certain that we decriminalize marijuana possession because our families shouldn't go to prison for a small thing. But I'm also the one who's saying to everyone that we've got to stand together for our children, that no one under the 18 should be charged as an adult in the state of Georgia. Now, there are those who will tell you that I should be focusing on what the Republicans are going to do with the Republican. And there are others who would argue that I've got this primary sewn up, so really why worry? The thing of it is, we're not done yet. We've got 13 days to go. And they're just getting started with their desperation. They're getting started with their attacks. I'm about to be accused of everything but the theft of the Lindbergh baby and the disappearance of Tupac. I didn't do either one, just to be clear. But here's what I have done. I stood up for our families when others would have turned away. I fought back against attempts to eliminate the rights of workers. Did so much good work that I've been endorsed by every single labor union that has offered to make their endorsement, with the exception of one, and I think they're just a little confused. But it's not just because of what I say I'm going to do, it's because of what they've seen me do. They've seen me take hard issues and try to make certain everyone understood what was at stake. They've seen me make compromises, but know that I've never compromised my values or my people. And they've seen me take bold steps to lift up our voices, because you cannot win if you cannot be seen and no one can hear you shout. And so I'm excited about the next 13 days. I'm excited about standing shoulder to shoulder with care and action, so we speak to every community, not just the ones that are used to hearing from us, but the ones who don't think anyone's coming anywhere near them. I'm ready to have a conversation with the child care worker who knows that she can have a better life if she could just get a little further ahead. I'm running for that person who is a domestic worker who simply wants an opportunity to shine. And I'm running for the person who believes that her voice has been so muted that she doesn't bother speaking anymore. I go to church because my parents are ministers and they trained me well. And one of my favorite scriptures is Esther 4:14. If you remember the story of Esther, Esther was in the midst of a political battle, and there were those who said you should do something, and others said don't do it, keep your mouth shut. And in the scripture what they said is, those who remain silent will not be served. But we are called to speak up at such a time as this. Care and action, this is our time. Now is our moment, and this is the place. And if we stand together, if we shout together, if we run together, we will win together, and we will change Georgia, and we will change the South, and we will change America, and we will be the victors in the end, because we'll do it together. Help me get there. Thank you so much. Out loud, because I don't know what. Okay, you guys know, no one wants to know any backstory on anything you've heard? Tell people what's real? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Ross Edward with the Atlanta Daily World and Global Times Media. We heard you from Detroit for a couple of days and wanted to get a chance to come by, especially. I'm so looking forward to your being off. But one of the major changes facing the community is that you're looking to serve as Black political public. One of the major changes, like three key items that you can.
Oh, absolutely. So the three issues that I talk about everywhere. Educating bold and ambitious children from cradle to career. That includes our work on early childhood learning and child care, making certain that those who work in those industries are being paid a living wage so that they can actually help our children achieve their best. It's about making certain we continue to expand access to universal pre-K. That's one of the reasons I fought so hard to defend pre-K during the Hope debate. But it's also about making certain we have quality K-12 education, which Georgia does not offer. My family lived on the poor street on the middle class side of town to get you zoned into the good school. You shouldn't have to have a degree in map making to get your children a good education. And I'm the only candidate who has never voted to auction off our public schools to private interests. But I'm also the person who is looking at how we do the work of post-secondary education, working with our trades, working with our labor unions to make certain folks have a point of entry if they don't want to go off to college, making certain they can get into technical college, and making certain if you want an associate's degree or to go to a four-year college, that you don't have to have a B to be successful. Because in Georgia right now, you only get financial aid if you have a B average. I come from a family of strong C's and some D's doing the best they can. And I am the only candidate who has consistently fought to create need-based aid in the state of Georgia. That's number one. Number two is we have to build a thriving and diverse economy for all of Georgia. I want to make certain that any person in this room, any woman, and some good men in the state who want to create their own company have the access to the financial capital to do so. Because in the midst of the Great Recession, when some folks were working and defending big banks that had stolen homes, I was working with President Barack Obama's administration to move access to capital to small businesses across the state of Georgia. And I want to scale that work so we can make certain that anyone, especially women who want to create their own Main Street jobs, not the high-tech companies, but those Main Street jobs that can lift up communities and lift up families, that they have access to the capital so they can lease the building they need, they can buy the equipment, they can get the licensing, they can get bonded. works for everyone. And if you want government to work for everyone, the first thing we have to do is to expand Medicaid in the state of Georgia. Medicaid expansion is 500,000 people with coverage. It's home health care workers finally getting paid a living wage for the work they do. It is about making certain that 15 rural hospitals don't close and go under, but it's also about making certain that those seniors who are nursing homes have the option for in-home health care at a good wage for everyone who wants that opportunity. Because what's happening right now is we shuffle all of our seniors into Medicaid and they get shuffled into nursing homes instead of having the option for in-home health care. And if we expand Medicaid, then those folks who are providing those services can actually qualify for a decent wage and take care of themselves and their families as well as taking care of everyone else. Those are our biggest things. I've added to that absolutely talking about transit because that's an integral part of government being effective. Environmental issue because environmental justice is a major issue in a lot of our communities. It's about criminal justice reform, making certain our families, number one, don't end up in the prison pipeline. When they do, they can come out. And I've got a brother who just got out of his second stint in a Mississippi prison. So for me, this is critical, and it's about having access to mental health and substance abuse treatment. I am the only candidate who has been consistently having this conversation. I had a little bit of time, so I started with a larger speech. But we also, if you go to our website, we have detailed plans on every single one of these issues, including how we help our military and our veterans and every other community, because I'm not in this for me. I am in this for us.
Any other questions for the hearing?
I mean, you've already answered the question. I've spoken on some of it. I'm a community urban farmer and pioneer in urban farming in Atlanta. And I started, I'm also an entrepreneur and mother and troublemaker. And
Good trouble.
and you know, one of the challenges that I faced in started my business was not, gaining access to capital in the programs that are available to the city, because a lot of those programs require you to already be in operation for a certain amount of years, to have a certain amount of capital already in your account, and to have a certain number of employees. And so coming in without resources, it was actually really cost prohibitive to do the work that we did, but we pushed on anyways. And then in the end, ended up losing thousands of dollars because our farm was bulldozed. And by people who didn't realize actually how much energy, life energy, and our own resources it took to build the business, right? And so, really, this is a battle that people in the farming community are having, especially women, gaining access to capital to create wide farms. Really would like to know more about, what you, as a governor, you could use to, support young farmers who are coming forward with, college debt, and and starting out without the resources to buy the equipment and everything that we need to create thriving farms in our communities.
I think that's a fantastic question, and it speaks to a number of issues. I had a small business that we lost because I couldn't get access to capital. We actually had a contract for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And even though we could show people the contract and our business plan, they wouldn't loan it to us because we were two women who were running a manufacturing company. And we actually had to shut down our business. And that's when I started Now Account, which is a small business that helps existing small businesses do business-to-business conversations and get access to capital that way. And that's why we were able to help create or retain more than 2,000 jobs in Georgia. That's the middle of the problem. You're at the beginning of the problem. When you're trying to get access to capital and people tell you to ask your friends and family, and you have to turn around and say, your friends and family don't have any money either. And that's when I wrote an essay in Fortune magazine a few weeks ago about my own personal debt, and about the fact that there's a false narrative that if you're just industrious enough, you can get whatever you want. That's not the case, especially for women of color. Because we start out behind, we are the least likely to get access to capital. We are the least likely to have friends who have wealth, because if you are Latino, your family worth is usually $13,000. If you're black, it's other state in the nation. Many of those banks were banks that were in our communities. And what that means is that when those banks disappeared, nothing came back to replace them. And if you don't have access to those small banks who will take a chance on an urban pioneer, then you can't get access to capital. You could fill out the whole SBA loan application. They are not going to, there's no bank to give you the money if you qualify. And so one thing that we can do as governor, one thing I can do as governor, is make certain we're actually putting funds on deposit with banks in multiple communities, especially in the communities that are the most overlooked. That's why those banks are so important. And this actually goes to one of the accusations against me. I've been challenged for voting for a banking bill, SB 192. And it was a bill that said that if you were a bad actor who misbehaved in the bank, you should be held liable. But it also says that if you were a good actor who made a mistake, if you had a good faith reason for that mistake, you have a defense. Now, my opponent is saying that that means I believe in predatory lending. No, I believe in small business. And I believe in small banks and credit unions and getting more of our people on those boards. Because unless we're on the boards making decisions, we won't ever have a voice in the decision making. And we have to think about this longitudinally, not just in the moment, but what does it look like over the next 20 years to put our own people on these banking boards so that the Community Reinvestment Act that says you have to put money back into small businesses actually gets done. And so there are multiple steps that we can use. We can use incubator capital. We can use startup funds to help. We can help you find matching funds using capital access programs. There are a list of programs, but most of our communities know nothing about it because we've never been taught to talk about it, and we don't know what to ask for when we're in the meetings. And so for me, it's about making certain that we are actually building a thriving, diverse economy in all 159 counties and in every community. Because as excited as people get about Amazon bringing 50,000 jobs, and I want them to bring them, I also want to invest in 5,000 small businesses so they can create 10 jobs each, because those are 50,000 jobs that never leave short. Here's what we're going to do. You're going to say your questions real fast, you, and then you, and I'm going to answer them very quickly. And good. Okay, very, very quickly. Question, not a statement.
Okay, so for many years, undocumented youth have been fighting and pushing the Board of Regents to actually give in-state tuition to undocumented youth. I know that as governor, you'll have the power to elect that board. I want to know what your commitment is, who you're going to elect, because currently the board that we have there, it's only one person that actually has a background in education.
Okay, gotcha. Yes, ma'am.
Just real quickly, I've only been here for a couple of days, I see your comments advertising about the whole program and how you can actually take away opportunities at the whole program. I don't understand that.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Our state elected officials on this side of town continually tell us they can't get anything done because the Republicans are in charge. What are you going to do to bring them together so that you can work across the line?
Okay. DACA and 3-year students. I believe and I've said this publicly, and it's actually in our higher education million, 1% low interest loan program, so you could borrow the money and have 10 years to pay it back, and that fund is now at $20 million. Number two, and because of that, 100% of African American students still have access to hope. It is a lie to say that 97% don't have access to the money. Number two, I made certain, and the governor admits, that I am the only reason we still have a full day of pre-K in the state of Georgia. 500,000 children have gone through that program since 2011, and it would not have existed because my opponent voted against this bill, which means she voted against pre-K students, and has never once addressed why she didn't stand up for those children too. Number three, on technical colleges, you cannot start school if you don't have the prerequisites. If they had not had remedial courses, most families could not have started yet. I got the governor to agree to keep those monies in place. I could not get him to lower the GPA. And when we found out that 40,000 students dropped out of technical college, I asked Stacey Abrams to carry legislation for us. And I was the co-sponsor of that bill to lower the GPA and increase the investment. My name is on every bill she has ever passed. And so she is being deeply disingenuous when she suggests that that was her idea and that she alone got it done. I don't mind sharing credit, but I also make sure we know the whole story, and that's the whole story. And you, sir, yes, it is incredibly difficult to get things done when you are outnumbered 2-1 in the legislature. The challenge is that some of the same people saying this are the very ones who don't want me working with Republicans to get stuff done. You can't disparage a group and then come back and say, oh, but will you help me now? And so what I have done, and done very effectively, is that I am the most effective